thanks for being here. John Myers is going to pass out some white contact cards. That's to get on the mailing list for Hastings College. We both work for Hastings College. So if you're interested, fill that out. That'll get you on our mailing list. If you're not, just leave that with us so we can reuse it. And I want to introduce the astronaut to you. This is Clayton Anderson, who's simply out of this world.
Wow.
Yeah. He currently resides near Houston, Texas, with his beautiful and talented wife, Susan, his son, Cole, and his daughter, Sutton Marie. Recently retired after a stellar 30-year career with NASA. He's accumulated 167 days in space while living on board the International Space Station for over 5 months in 2007, and serving as a mission specialist with the Space Shuttle 131 crew in 2010. A seasoned spacewalker, Anderson spent nearly 40 hours in the unforgiving vacuum of space, having helped to build the space station through the execution of 6 spacewalks, placing him 27th on the list of cumulative spacewalk world records.
28 now. I got that.
His remarkable career has been chronicled in a documentary entitled Homemade Astronaut. He's appeared on the History Channel with Larry the Cable Guy and Only in America, and the Travel Channel with Kevin Conley in Armed and Ready, and Don Wildman in Off Limits. Clayton's story is one of big dreams and perseverance. It is unique, heartwarming, and inspirational, and will show you that with hard work and a little luck, you can achieve anything you choose. It gives me great pleasure to introduce to you Clayton Anderson.
But forget all that. We'll just have fun. All right. So it's supposed to be interactive a little bit. I don't want to just sit here and yeah, because I know you guys will start tweeting and on Facebook. Okay?
I'm okay. I think it's Jesse's going to come down.
Okay. So I'll turn it off in a minute. Can you hear me? Yeah. Don't need a mic probably. So I want to have some fun with you guys today. I want to kind of tell you my story, where I'm from. I'm a small town kid from Nebraska. We like to call that, you guys probably call it far eastern Colorado, but we like to call you guys far western Nebraska. So I grew up in a school called Ashland that was really puny, probably about 1,800 people in the far eastern end of the state. So as we go through the slides, if you guys have questions, I want you to ask them when you think of them. You can hold them till the end if you'd like, but if you have a question as we go through this stuff, please feel free. Okay? Deal? All right. I guess, can you move my slides for me, or are you on a separate system? You're on the...
I'm good.
Correct.
Jesse has
there we go. So, I want to let you guys know that there's a big talk about asteroids in the world today, right? And how deadly they are and how they're going to kick the Earth's butt and all that good stuff. And that if the dinosaurs would have had a space program, they'd still be alive today. Did you know that? So the big asteroid is the one that most recently came close to the Earth, and people talk about, oh my gosh, it could hit the Earth and kill, blow a city, and it could. Oh, thank you.
Just keep your finger on the mouse ball on the bottom, and you can just left click.
Is that wow? I'm just checking it out. It didn't do anything. Made him a liar, didn't I? You know where he went to school? Hastings College. That's all right. I'll just go up there and get this on. So the smaller asteroid is the one that you see that went into Russia, and actually people videotaped it, and it came firing in, and it had a big trail, and it smacked the Earth, and it made a big pressure wave, and actually scared a lot of people, broke windows, made a lot of noise. So what NASA's doing is pure genius. We're hurting for budget, right? We're a government agency who needs a lot of money. So what they're doing now is they're going to offer you, for a small fee, if your football team sucks, they will drop an asteroid right in the heart of the stadium at your command, right? So you guys just have to get the funding up, pay NASA, and they'll just drop it right there. Okay, now you guys got to play. This is a photo, obviously. You guys tell me the caption, just blurt it out, whatever you think. Anybody?
Life save.
Life save? Anybody else? No, you guys are so boring.
I thought you said this would be fun.
What?
I thought you said this would be fun.
Well, yes, that's a good guess. Here's the answer. Oh. Yep, I clean in the water. Can I get it? How about this one? Swag.
Going into the danger zone.
Danger zone, that's good. What? How about Bruce Willis, eat your heart out? You guys know who he is, right? Yeah. How about this one? Whack-a-mole. No. Whack-a-knot. Whack-a-knot. Honestly, I use the last roll of toilet paper. That's pretty critical, though. You guys know the most important thing is not toilet paper in space. It's a rubber glove, right? Because when you guys go to the bathroom and you go out in the woods and all that good stuff, what takes care of you? Gravity, right? You have a separation factor, we like to call it. Gravity pulls the poop, gravity pulls the pee away from your body, and you don't have to worry about it. Well, you don't have that separation factor in 0G. You have to create your own. And the way we create that when you urinate is with a vacuum cleaner, right? Kind of hold it out here. True. If you're really good, you can kind of make it go around the corner like that. You guys in physics can do the math probably. Figure that out. But don't try that at home because I'm a trained professional and it can get a little messy. But then the vacuum cleaner for the Russian side was not as good as the vacuum cleaner on the shuttle. And so when you went number 2, it was critical that you had a separation factor. You couldn't just use the vacuum. There was a vacuum connected to the toilet because it pulled the smell away, but it didn't pull hard enough to pull everything else away. So you had to have a separation factor, and there are many techniques involved. I like to use the rubber glove technique and the scissors. Other guys like to use the float and shimmy. That one could be really messy if you didn't. How about this one? Space station timeout. I was when the commander put me in timeout. I was a bad space station astronaut. How about this one? This guy, by the way, Rick Strachio, he's in orbit right now. He's dressed nice. Yeah, looks pretty sharp, doesn't he? Your tax, government tax dog. How about this one? I don't want to go. I don't want to go. Actually, I did want to go. Does this suit make my butt look too big? And the answer is, of course. How about this one? This is another good physics homework problem for you, right? If it's not yellow, it can't be urine, right? There have been stories of astronauts who were floating in the shuttle and they saw what they thought was a piece of a baby Ruth coming by, and it turned out it probably wasn't baby Ruth. So in the picture on the right, I was 8 years old. I was a small town kid in Nebraska when my parents woke me up in the middle of the night with my brother and sister and put us down in front of a black and white TV. You guys know the black and white TV? Yeah. So we're sitting on one of those little throw rugs. In the old days, your grandma probably still has one. It's a throw rug that's shaped of an oval, and it has each one is a different kind of color, and it comes into the middle, and the ovals get smaller and smaller, and it's really uncomfortable to sit on. Well, that's what we sat on in front of a black and white TV on Christmas Eve in 1968 as we watched the Apollo 8 astronauts go behind the moon for the very first time. Okay, well, when they did that, they were talking beforehand to the control team, right? Hey, fighter, go! Capcom, go! Flight, go! Ethos, go! Right? Everybody's ready to make sure they're ready to go behind the backside of the moon because when they get behind that rock, they can't communicate with anybody. It's a rock. So all you get is for like 15 minutes. Well, shoot, I'm an 8-year-old kid, right? In this picture, a very handsome 8-year-old kid with a red bow tie and pale blue sport jacket. But I had an active imagination, so all I thought of was, man, a volcano on the backside of the moon erupted and blew them out of the sky. Or maybe a Martian space dragon flew in and breathed its fiery breath over their capsule and just burned them to a crisp. I had no clue, right? I was only 8. When they came around the backside of the moon, finally, and they came back out, and you hear that beep that you hear on the NASA TV. It's called the Quindar tone. And that's the tone that separates, tells you when you're finished speaking. And Jim Lovell gets on the horn and he says, hey, Houston, there is a Santa Claus. We're back. I was hooked. That's when I wanted to do it. I wanted to become an astronaut. So in the picture on the right, is me at graduation at Hastings College in 1981. Yeah, I'm pretty old. But that was the first time I thought I was going to be able to realize my dream, because there was a guy from Hastings College that graduated in 1961 who worked for NASA in Houston at the Johnson Space Center. And every fall he went up to pheasant hunt in Nebraska. And it just so happened my senior year at Hastings, he pheasant hunted with the career guidance counselor. They got to talking as they stomped through the mud, right, and shooting birds. And he said, "Hey, I work for NASA." And he said, "Really? We have a student who's very interested in the space program." "Really? We have a summer intern program at NASA." "Really? Yeah, I can send you the forms and he can apply." "Really? So I'll send you the forms." "Okay." And I applied, and I got lucky enough to get selected. Now my foot was in the door in 1981. And I got a full-time job in 1983 with NASA, and I spent a 30-year career there. I applied to be an astronaut 15 times, over 15 years. Every year. And they didn't pick me. They didn't even give me a sniff until year number 13. And in year number 13, I got interviewed for the very first time. I went in, I sat in a big room with a bunch of astronauts, a bunch of big managers, you know, and they put you, tables are shaped in a T, and they put you right in the corner of the T. And they do that on purpose because you have to be able to show them that you have the ability to communicate to anybody in the room, right? If you just sit there in the T, the guys over here won't hear you, and the guys over here won't hear you, only people here. So you have to get up, you have to move around, you have to show them that you have the right stuff. Well, apparently I didn't, because they didn't pick me in on my 13th year. I had to apply my 14th year when they didn't select astronauts. I applied again my 15th year, and I got lucky. 15 years of 15 applications until I finally got selected. How many of you guys think you have that ability to stick with it? You have to. You have to make your own luck. You have to create your own path. It wasn't that hard. The first time it was hard because you had to gather all the information, put it all together, but it wasn't that difficult to become an applicant to be an astronaut. The trick was, what do I do every year after that to become better and more of a possible candidate for that? That was the tough part. So here's the Earth as viewed from the moon back in 1968 when I first became an astronaut. You know who that is? That's me. In my hometown of Ashland, Nebraska, we had a kiddie parade. Every summer we had a carnival come. They closed down Main Street because that wasn't very hard to do. They put a street carnival in, and they had a kiddie parade, pancake breakfast, a talent show, all that kind of stuff. And in the kiddie parade back in the 60s, we couldn't go to Target and Walmart and Costco and buy a costume. So my mom wrapped me in aluminum foil. She got a hat box, got it, put it on my head, covered it in aluminum foil, put a pipe cleaner with a styrofoam ball in there so I could talk to aliens. And I walked as a Mercury Gemini astronaut in the kiddie parade. You know what place I got? Well, second. I didn't win. My mom, right here, she was pretty jacked. So this is Nebraska. I grew up just by the south end of the Platte River right here in a place called Ashland. So my house is right here. I took all these pictures from space, by the way. So I played at Hastings College, played a little football. Back when we had the Bronwater Hill, we didn't have the, did you guys have the horseshoe? Horseshoe. Yeah, see now they're the big Indianapolis Colts. I played basketball in high school and college. Apparently I wasn't good enough. Did a little acting. There's mom and dad at Iowa State, and I graduated with a master's degree in aerospace engineering. And then I became an astronaut. When I got selected in 1998, we had to pick a nickname. Every class of astronauts has a nickname. Typically, though, in the history of astronauts, the class that came before you picked your nickname. Okay, and the class of '96 was called the Sardines. 44 astronauts were selected in 1996. 44, the biggest class ever. Well, then they picked 32 of us, and we wanted to pick our own nickname. We didn't want to use the nickname that the other class said, which they were the Sardines. They wanted to call us the Dodos. Upper right. Right? Dodos don't fly, and they're dodos, and they're extinct, and on and on. So we decided we're going to have a meeting. We talked about being the emus. We talked about being the Dumbos. And we talked about being the penguins. All were flightless, although Dumbo will eventually achieve flight, but none of us could see us being called the Dumbos. Right? Not a great connotation with the word Dumbo. So we ended up being the penguins. And then 32 penguins, 44 sardines, and not very many space flights. So you have to cut the line out a little bit. Here's how you do it. Ready? One down. And then if you ever get flight assigned, it's like going home from work on Friday. Pretty exciting day for most people. Then many of the guys and girls that didn't have a flight assignment, it was like going back to work. One day, all the guys like to pick a guy from Nebraska. To the big game. They just grow corn and fly over. Methamphetamines in Nebraska. So when I got to go to the space station the first time, that's like a marathon. It's a long time. I spent 5 months there. I spent 3.5 years of training to go there. 3.5 years where I spent 1 month in Russia and 1 month in Houston for 3.5 years. That sucked. For me, it did. The space shuttle was a lot easier. It's like a sprint. Basically, I trained for 9 months, 9 to 12 months, although the first 3 months were easy. I never had to leave town very often. I was home with my family every night at 5 o'clock, and the weekends with my family. Yes, you have a question? Do you believe in aliens? Do I believe in aliens? Absolutely. Absolutely. I haven't talked to any. When I went into space, I was there. I waited for them to call, and they never called. I would have chatted. We have an astronaut named Story Musgrave. He's kind of an eccentric guy. And he had a really high-pitched, whiny voice. And he used to put his hand against the window on the shuttle and try to talk to those aliens, you know, because I can speak to them if they want to talk. I'm serious. There's a heart attack. Look him up. But I never got to talk to him. I tried, but they didn't call me. So I got to fly once with 2 Russians, Yurchikin and Kotov. Kotov just came home from space. That's my family, my wife Susan, my daughter Sutton, my son Cole. Cole was 10, Sutton was 6 in this picture, my wife was 29. And then there's my crewmates, Theodore in the middle and Olive on the right. We're to see the Hastings College banner in the back, and then my high school banner way in the back. We had to wear hard hats for certain activities in space. You have to follow OSHA regulations. These guys brought me. Sunny was there on the station before me. She had bad hair days every day. I vacuumed her hair for 5 months. 5 months. Honest to God. You know, you'd be working, you'd be down in the bowels of the station trying to clean something up, and here'd be this 6-foot black hair, right? It'd come floating by. It's like, where's it? It had to come from her. The guys in the red were the ones that took me to space. And then these guys with another bad hair, that's Mark Morgan from Idaho, and they came and visited the house. So there were visitors from another planet. We got to fly in a Volkswagen Beetle with no sunroof, or with a sunroof. That's called the Soyuz. The shuttle came to bring me home. They brought a new module when they came. But before they got here, this crew, Yuri and Peggy, took the place of Oleg and Fyodor, and they brought this yacht right here. This guy, Sheikh Mustafa Sukour. He's from Malaysia, and he was a doctor, a children's doctor, and a model. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So what he liked to do, he wasn't very doctor-like in space. He was very model-like. He used to take we had a camera bracket called a Bogan arm, and he would hook a video camera to it, and he'd point the video camera at himself, and then he'd flip the screen so he could see what he was videotaping, and he'd fly himself around the station, taking movies of himself. What is up with that? Now, he flew because Malaysia traded Navy fighter jets or some deal with the Russians, so he's one of the tourists that you may have heard about. So he only flew for 8 days. He got poop on all over the bathroom twice, and each time Peggy was the user after he was, and so she went and complained to Fyodor, and Fyodor made him clean the toilet. Pretty exciting stuff, yeah. And then these guys brought me home, the crew of STS-120. For history purposes, these 2 ladies commanded the shuttle and the station the first 2 times in the history of the world that 2 females commanded 2 separate spacecraft in history. So that's kind of a big deal. She had a whip. The Russians gave her a whip. and she had a lightsaber from Steven Spielberg, so we were pretty much kept in line the whole time. I took this picture of the station when we left. Anybody know how big it is? It's about the size of a football field, right? So from right to left is about 120 yards, counting end zones, and top to bottom is about 65. What's a football field? 60, 65? Something like that. Got to fly again in 2010. There's my family. Cole was 14, Sutton was 10, Sue was still 29. There's Sutton today. She's a 7th grader. And there's my son Cole. He's a senior in high school. He played offensive tackle for the football team. And then I got to go on the shuttle Discovery. There's some video here, and it's got sound to it. So the sound doesn't start right away. But we were part of a crew of 7. We had a Japanese lady and a teacher from Oregon, or Washington, excuse me. And we had 3 rookies on board. So when you listen to the sound, when we actually see this, I want you to listen and figure out who the rookies are. It's pretty easy to tell. So there's Dex, the commander, Jim Dutton. He lives in Colorado Springs right now. He's the pilot. Rick Mistraka, he's in space right now. Dottie Metcalf-Lindenberger, a teacher. Clay, the comedian. Stephanie from Harvard. And Noko Yamazaki from Japan. So when we walked out, if you listen carefully, you hear, she was a rock star, man. They loved her. Everybody took her pictures. They screamed her name. She was the biggest thing since sliced bread. So we're down at the engine bell level, and guys are taking a picture from up here. That's the flight deck. Dex is on the right, Dottie's in the middle, Rick's in the back, and Nash is, Jim Dutton is out of the picture. We roll back the white room, which is where my butt was really too big. Seat was, fire off the engine. 6 seconds prior to liftoff, the engines come up. They're at 100%, 300. Solid light, lift off. Veteran commander, right? So. So we have 6.25 million pounds of thrust. For 2.5 minutes, the solid rocket motors go. They have cameras so we can look at the tiles so we don't have a Columbia accident again. The 3 engines are burning, the 2 solids are burning, and then when they pop off with explosives, you'll see an insert here, and you'll see the force in the cockpit. Boom. Right? Everything lights up, they fall away, the cameras keep working until they hit the Atlantic Ocean. 8.5 minutes later, we're in space. That arc right there is about 6.5 minutes of our trajectory. It's the greatest roller coaster ride in the history of the world. Absolutely. Got to come home on Discovery. So we close the payload bay doors. Rick's got the video camera. He's floating around taking everybody's picture. Dex is going to fly and land the shuttle. Jim's going to take care of the gear and the parachute. Clay's reading the magazine. And Dottie controls the checklist. She's kind of the quarterback. I did have one job that I didn't even screw up. I had to take pictures of video of the overhead net in the front windows. There you see when the shuttle gets to 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit, it glows orange. There's the tail, the vertical tail. It gets red hot. That's where the black tiles are on the vehicle. 2 sonic booms. We're going to ask the physics students in the front about that in a second. Dex has it now. He hands the stick to Jim, Nash, Dutton, and it's just like flying a video game. You put the little shuttle on the X. You guys can do it. It's really easy. And then you come in over Alligator Alley, and Dex pulls down the landing gear, or MASH does, and Dex, who was an F-14 fighter pilot, sees the view in the heads-up display, and he brings us down on a 15,000-foot runway at the Kennedy Space Center. We had 135 levels. Dex had the #2 landing in the history of the program. #2. Pretty good. I landed twice. His was way better than my first one. My first one, I knew we hit the ground. The second one, I wasn't sure. So we pop out the drag chute. Nobody touches the brakes. The drag chute just helps us drop the nose down. And then you see our crew. There's Noko with their Japanese flag. And everybody going, Noko-san, Noko-san. We're all trying to not to puke right here, right? Because you've been in zero gravity for so long. Did you figure out who the rookies were? The ones Everyone's giggling. Oh, this is crazy. And then coming back, 2 sonic booms. Why?
I was just wondering, you said you guys had cameras just to make sure that Columbia didn't happen again?
Yes.
What would happen if you did see that?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, at least you know, right? Hey, you laugh, right? But we didn't know. Columbia had no idea there was a hole in her left wing. No idea, right? If we would have known, my guess is we would have mounted the hugest effort in the history of NASA to get a shuttle ready to go up and rescue them, right? They could have stayed in space for a while. The question is that while, can we get another shuttle ready quick enough to go rescue them? Then, if we do, how do we rescue them? There were so many unanswered questions, but I guarantee you there were astronauts on the ground ready to go save them. Guarantee you. So now, the idea was, if you film that, you can see if there's anything that hits the tile. Then you can decide how bad the damage is. It will help you make that evaluation. We had techniques, if it was just a small hole or a small chip in the tile, we had capability to go repair that. That was what was new from the time we had Columbia till this. We could repair some things. So that's a positive. If you know it's there, you can try to repair it. If it was as big as the pizza box hole that was in the Columbia wing that allowed the hot air, the 3,000 degrees to get in there, what happens when aluminum sees 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit? Nothing good, right? Unless you're trying to melt aluminum. And then the wing busted off and they die. So if you know you have that hole, you can mount an effort, right? Because otherwise, if you don't know what the hole is, you're going to have another Columbia. They can't stay up there forever. So you have to do something. Either come home or try to fix it. Okay? Now, physics geniuses right here. 2 sonic booms. Why? Yes, that's what causes a sonic boom. Excellent. But why 2?
Displacement of air. Displacement of air.
Yes, but you got it right. But my question is, why did you hear boom, boom?
2 times the speed of sound.
No, not 2 times the speed of sound. Anybody have a guess? There you go. The nose breaks the sound barrier first, and then not the wings, the very tip of the tail breaks it the second time. And that length is 122 feet, which is about the same distance that the Wright brothers flew their plane the first time in Kitty Hawk. Is that cool? That's some cool trivia. You guys wouldn't have heard that in college. Good questions. I met a lot of famous people in my time in space. I mean, this guy is really famous. His name is George Zamka. He works for the Special Operations. Oh, the other guy over here, that's the Pope. This is a great story. I got to tell you. I love to tell the story. So the commander, second female shuttle commander in the history of the world, right? So she tells us all, when we go meet the Pope, we're in an auditorium about 10 times as big as this, but it's very similar, right? So there's high school kids, there's choirs and churches, there's distinguished astronauts, there's bands, there's all sorts of people in this auditorium, right? They pay every Wednesday and they can come and get blessed by the Pope. So the Pope stands up and he says in whatever language, he blesses the whole room and everything in it. Well, we were told we get a private blessing. If you had some items that you wanted blessed, like I took my wedding ring and my astronaut pin, and I put them in the palm of my hand. I said, I want him to bless these things. So we get up to the Pope, just like this, and the commander, she's been practicing all week, to say in her best Italian, Your Excellency, please bless this. In Italian, right? She doesn't speak Italian. And Paul over here, he's the guy right behind the Pope's head. He is Italian, so he's teaching her how to do this. So she leans in. She says in her best Italian, Your Excellency, please bless this. And he looks at her. Doesn't say a word. She leans, you know how you do? You lean in further because you don't think he heard you. And she says in her best Italian, Your Excellency, please bless this. And he looks at her. And the dude speaks English and Italian, right? So he just looks at her. Finally, she leans into her time. She says, bless us! Swear to God, true story, bless us! And I, oh my. This is a little rough. She just kind of barked at the Pope. So I took my wedding ring and my pin and I just kind of put it back in my pocket. I said, he blessed it earlier. I don't need it. Kind of embarrassing. Apparently it didn't bother the Pope too much. He must get barked at a lot. I met the Globetrotters. They made me look even more stupid than I usually do. I met these two young ladies. That's just Nebraska, 2012. Her name is Mariah Cook from Omaha, and the girl behind her is Kayla Bott from Lincoln. And then I don't know if you guys know these two people. Anybody? She's Miss Nebraska 2010, and she became Miss America 2011, the first Miss America from the history of the state. And this guy here, how about him? He's been living near you guys for the last 8 years. Because he's a bobsled pusher from Nebraska. He's Kurt Thomas-Sevich. She won the gold in Vancouver in 2010, and he pushed the gold bobsled, and then this year they got the bronze. This guy's pretty famous. I got to meet him. He called me a bald. He made fun of my balding head. My son loved it. He comes up to me, and it's a long story, but it's a great story. By the way, I have a book coming out in December. This is a shameless plug for my book. I would love it if all of you guys would read it. Buy at least one copy and just pass it around. You can read it and give it to your friend, but I prefer you all buy one. But anyway, there's a great story about this in the new book. And my son just laughing because the President of the United States dissed his dad about his bald head. Fortunately, he was, second-term president, so I didn't have to worry about whether I'd vote for him. Just kidding. Then the most famous guy I ever met is that guy right there. You're done. That's right. The thing I was in with the History Channel, with Larry the Cable Guy, most of the good stuff got left on the cutting room floor. He was pretty funny. But it's a great thing if you look it up on the History Channel, Only in America with Larry the Cable Guy. You just look for the Space NASA episode, and you'll find me escorting him around and showing him how to pee around a corner using the toilet. So that's me. That was actually a bad day in space for me. It doesn't look that way in the picture, but what's on my head? Anybody know? Chef's hat. Actually, it's a pair of clean boxer shorts. So I was working in space, and I had a tendency when things didn't go well and I got frustrated, I would call the ground and I'd ask them questions and they'd get mad and I'd get frustrated with them because they don't give you much help, right? You remember the time your parents were at the house or whatever and they ask you a question, hey, did you, I don't know, the TV won't work, right? And your dad, being the genius that he is, he said, well, did you try turning it on? Right? Have you ever had a situation similar to that, right? Or, hey, my computer won't boot up. Well, did you push the on button? You know what I mean? Just an answer that doesn't help you at all. Well, that's what I was getting from the ground that day. And rather than pick up the microphone and go, are you kidding me? Come on. Because they'd ask me, well, have you checked that your computer's turned on? No. I always use a computer when it's turned off. Right? Did you read the instructions that we provided for you? Oh, no. I always just make it up. Right? So I was very frustrated. So I went into my sleep station, which is right there near the two books. You see the books with the open pages right behind my boxer shorts. That's where I slept. So I went in there and I grabbed a pair of shorts and I put them on my head because I needed to change my attitude. Well, it turns out that the camera, the black video camera right above the exit sign, goes live in Houston and all across the nation at 10 a.m. every morning on NASA TV. So I knew that was happening. So I put the boxer shorts on and I sailed down and sat. And I watched that computer, see the laptop in the upper right? I watched that laptop and there's a lightning bolt in that laptop. And when the signal is live, audio and video to the ground, it goes green. And at 10 a.m., I was waiting. 9:59 to 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 10 o'clock. Green lightning bolt. Oh boy, we're live. So I turned, I faced the camera, and I slowly floated up with boxer shorts, billowing on my head. With the biggest smile I could muster, I waved in my mouth. Hello, Houston! Well, on the ground, in the control center, where the flight director's in charge of everybody, he's standing there and he's got his microphone key and he says, PAO, Public Affairs, this is flight. Go flight, PAO. What's he doing? I don't know, flight. You? No. Cut the feed. So everybody sees those colored bars, you see on the colored TV, right? All of NASA TV goes dead. Because I wore boxer shorts on my head. I come to find out all this later, right? The flight director was not very happy with me. Neither was the astronaut office. I got a nasty email talking about questioning my professionalism. I said, hey, look, I was just having fun. I'm the Only American in space in a tin can. I can't have fun. I never got any more A-ones, so apparently I made my point. But that's how you have fun in space. By the way, the boxer shorts were clean. You guys don't care about this picture, do you? But I got in trouble for this too, right? We were suiting up for football, right? We're going to send the guys out for a spacewalk. Well, that's just like suiting up on a football team, right? You need your helmets ready, you need all your equipment prepared, and that was my job, to prepare the equipment and get it ready for the guys and put it on to the spacewalk. Well, heck, if we're going to fix the helmets up, they better go look it up. They better look good. So I had a set of, multiples actually, of Nebraska red ends that go on the football helmets at the university, provided by the university. Well, I thought, hey, let's doctor these helmets up a little bit. So when that picture went live, well, they thought I took the red end, and peeled the adhesive backing off, right? So I had a sticky end with all that glue and that nastiness and put it on $1 billion or $1 million spacesuit. Well, I'm not that stupid, right? Well, I'm in 0G, and I just need a small piece of Kapton tape. Kapton tape is allowed to touch that $1 million spacesuit. So I took a tiny piece, it's 0G, it doesn't weigh anything, just need a little bit, stuck those two ends on the side of the helmet. I heard about that too. They said, what? Wait. I said, hey, it's Kapton tape, it's allowed, it's okay. Just to prove my point, I left them on for 2 weeks. They'll be great. So I came back, here's the last caption contest of the day. It's pretty dull. As future governor of Nebraska, Husker season tickets for everyone. You laugh, but I hope to be governor of Nebraska someday. Trouble is I have to move back and I can't get a job. Nobody will hire me. So here we are in space, all things Nebraska. There's a Nebraska baseball hat, a ball from the College World Series in 2010. Larry the Cable Guy shirt. That's a great story too. Kurt Tomasevich's bobsled gloves that he pushed the sled to the gold medal with. And then Cabela pants. You guys know, is there Cabela's in Colorado now? Yeah. It used to only be in Nebraska, and they provided pants for the astronauts. So this is all things Nebraska. Nebraskans get her done. Yada, 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 yada. Oh, this is you guys. Right? That's me when I was 8. It's not really me. Figuratively, it's me. Right? I had a dream. I dreamed I wanted to do something. And through hard work and making my own luck, I made that dream a reality. You guys are in the same place. It may not be an astronaut that you want to be. Where's my Air Force? He wants to go in the Air Force and do some cool things. That's very cool. I talked to some kids back in Nebraska one time, and I said, does anybody in here play guitar and sing? Anybody? Any of you guys musicians? Have you ever dreamed or thought that it might be cool to be on America's Got Talent? Or The Voice, right? Those are dreams. You can do that. You have to make your luck. You have to make your opportunities. And there are lots of different ways to do that. And I hope that all you guys, as seniors, consider going on and doing some great things. Because that's exactly what this kid is doing. He's just dreaming about what he might do next. And I'm a great example, I think, of somebody who got really lucky. I put in a lot of hard work. You like that? There's a good story behind that picture, too. I didn't do it, somebody else did. But now I have a website, astroplay.com. I would encourage you guys to go to it. They're updating it right now, trying to make it better. But you can go there. I have a YouTube channel that has some pretty cool videos for teachers, for educational purposes. You can find some stuff on there. You guys, have you seen the Gangnam Style video that we did? The parody, the NASA parody of the Gangnam Style video? You should go look that up because I'm in it. And I don't say that just because I'm in it, but you remember how the Globetrotters made me look stupid? You should watch this video. I'm on Facebook. I have a fan page, and then I have a Twitter handle, @astro_clay. Like I said, I have a book coming out in December. So with that, let me turn it over to you guys. Let me drive the train for a few minutes while we have some time to ask questions, provide comments, or cheap shots, if you wish. Yes, sir.
So what did you do to keep up your resume and get chosen to be an astronaut?
I earned $20 million and I'm paid off the dude. No. It took me a minute. You know, I get asked that question, how do you become an astronaut, right? A lot of guys and gals, they make a plan, but their plan is too strict, in my opinion, right? Their plan is, I'm going to go to Hastings College and get a degree in physics. Then I'm going to go to Iowa State University and get a master's degree in aerospace engineering. Then I'm going to go to Harvard and I'm going to get another degree in nuclear quantum physics. And then I'm going to go climb Mount Kilimanjaro. And then I'm going to learn how to jump out of airplanes. And then, you know, and if anything goes wrong on that narrow path, their dream could be dwarfed. Okay? So what I encourage people to do is make a tunnel. Put your dream at the end of a tunnel, right? Where you have a chance to bounce around on the inside of that tunnel. Because you may go off to the Air Force and you may find that's not your cup of tea. I hope it is, but you may find that you don't care for it. It doesn't crank you up like you thought it might, right? And you may go and you may do, what do you think of doing? Do you have any plans yet?
Marine biology.
Marine biology, okay. So she may go off and find out that marine biology is the coolest thing she's ever done, right? She may go be in Fort Lauderdale digging up sea turtle eggs and protecting sea turtles and stuff. That would be cool, right? But she maybe doesn't know yet. She could find it, it's really not my cup of tea. That's why you have to make your tunnel, you have to have a tunnel and not just a line, right? You have to be able to bounce around inside there and test out what your dream takes you down that path. Because the odds of you guys finding something that you think you like now, it may not be quite what you envision. And you may have to adjust. So keep that tunnel idea going, right? And the closer you get to your goal, the tunnel is going to funnel down. So you get closer and closer, and you'll get more and more passionate about what you're doing because you have found what you really want to be, what you really want to do, what makes you want to get up every day and go to work. That's important. I had a dad who every day went to work, he hated his job. The reason he was in his job is because it provided good health care benefits, and he had 4 heart attacks before he was 35. So his concern was, I could have another heart attack and then be gone, right? So he took a job that provided him benefits that could cover his family if he left, right? That was his rationale. That was his tunnel, but he didn't like the result at the end. And I watched him every day, right? And that told me that I was going to find something that made me happy, that I enjoyed doing. And when I was at NASA, even when I wasn't an astronaut, for 15 years I was a NASA employee. I loved it. It was cool. I did neat stuff. When I got to be an astronaut, well, that was a little cool. And that was my dream. But if I had never become an astronaut, at least I was doing something where I enjoyed going to work every day. Okay? So, back to your question, what did I do? I did things that I liked and always dreamed of doing, like flying an airplane. I always wanted to fly, so I got a pilot's license. I always wanted to scuba dive. So I became scuba dive certified. Okay? I didn't climb a mountain. I had no desire to climb a mountain. I'd love to go hike on one, which I ultimately did. We climbed the Wind River Peak in Wyoming. That was cool. But that wasn't part of my plan, right? I was active in my community. Those things were important to me. I was active in my church. Those things were important to me. So that's kind of how I just enhanced my resume a little at a time. And I did the best job I could do at the work that was assigned to me. Okay? Anybody else? Yes?
With the space shuttle program shut down, do you have any insight
What?
Do you have any insight as to what NASA has planned for space travel in the future?
Yes. So I booed because I'm hugely disappointed that we canceled the shuttle program. I think we canceled it too early. Because right now we're paying a lot of money to the Russians to send American astronauts into space. Anybody have a guess how much?
Too much.
Yeah, too much.
10 billion.
How much?
10 billion.
Not 10 billion. It's 70 million. Roughly $70 million to take a single U.S. astronaut, provide the equipment, the training, all that stuff to be able to fly in space for 4 to 6 months. Okay? Take them up, bring them home, learn Russian, all that good stuff. So that's okay as a temporary deal, because when Columbia happened and we weren't flying shuttles then, the Russians stepped up and they delivered our Americans to and from space. That was important. They helped us out. But now we're totally relying on those guys. You know, you got Putin in charge. You got the Ukraine situation going on. I mean, I think that it's just not very stable to me. They could pull the plug at any moment, and they hold all the cards. They hold everything, right? They control the games. And I don't like the fact that they control the game. So I would have kept the shuttle in place longer. I love commercial space flight. The idea that we're going to have commercial companies, SpaceX, Orbital, Sierra Nevada in Colorado, Blue Origins in Seattle. We're having those people build rockets that can be a taxi cab or a rental car for people to go to space. That's a cool thing, because that may take you guys into orbit one day. I mean, that'd be cool, right? There's a dude in Las Vegas who wants to start an orbital hotel. Wouldn't it be cool to spring break? Hey, where are you going? Oh, space. That would be cool. So all that's good. I just wish we would have kept the shuttle going one or two flights a year to get us keep America in the game, right? We can't launch an American from American soil right now, and that chaps me. Hopefully they'll figure it out soon, but I'm not sure. But commercial space flight's a good idea.
So nothing beyond that?
Well, it depends on who you talk to, right? The president's goal is to go visit an asteroid, which is cool for an astronaut, but I don't see what it does for the rest of you, right? I don't agree with that destination. I think we should go back to the moon and build a lunar base, because where is the ultimate destination? If you ask everybody in this room to write on a piece of paper, where do you think we should go? Where would you write? Where? Mars, probably. Most people, right? So I think we should go to the moon because all the theorists, all the physicists, all the people that do all the analysis and the theoretical stuff say we can get oxygen from the soil, we can get water from the soil, we can get fuel from the soil, we can do all that stuff when we're on Mars or on the moon. Well, how do we do that? We don't know how. So people like you have to figure out the how part. And I think we should go to the moon and start figuring out the how, so that when it's time to go to Mars, we don't get there and go, huh, what are we doing now? Oh, let's go look at this rock over here. Right? Because it takes 6 to 9 months to go to Mars. You're going to be there for at least 6 to 9 months as you wait for the planets to realign to allow you to come home in 6 to 9 months. Right? The orbital trajectories don't allow just a quick trip every time. You have to time it. So you're going to be there, be en route for a long time. You're going to be there for a long time. You're going to come home. It takes a long time. So that whole package is going to be a little difficult to do. You could be one of those, the man and wife are going to fly to Mars and never come back. Yes, sir.
So while you were an astronaut, the technology that you saw at NASA, how much, you did like assign a percentage, how much percentage that technology have you seen that say end up in the hands of the general population?
Quite a bit, actually. You guys, your parents pay today a little less than a half a penny on a tax dollar goes to the space program. In the Apollo days, it was almost 1 3/4 pennies, maybe more, went to the space program, right? And then my whole 30-year career at NASA, my whole career was about 75% of a penny, roughly, went to the space program. Now it's below half a penny, right? It's gone way down. From Apollo to where we are today, it's gone way down. But in the Apollo program, that's where your portable drill came from, your battery-powered portable drill. Some of you guys that wear Jordan tennis shoes, the soles of basketball shoes came from moon boots in part. There are grooves in the highway that came from NASA Aerospace Research for airplanes. That's why they groove the highways to channel the water and the ice. Anybody have clear braces? Or know somebody that does? Thank you, NASA. Right? How about your cell phones? You guys whip out your cell phones every day. Do you ever say, thank you, NASA? You wouldn't have that. Your smartphone wouldn't exist without NASA, in part. And I'm not saying we invented the cell phone, but we invented a lot, or came up with a lot of the technology. And that's the dream of this. That's the cool part of this, is your tax dollars to keep us going into space and pushing the frontier leads to more discoveries that help people on Earth. Like the lenses on glasses, they're I don't know what they're called these days, but they're really lightweight. And you don't need the bottom frame to hold them anymore if you don't want them. That's all technology from NASA. So lots of cool stuff has happened. The problem is we're impatient. If your smartphone cracks this deal, what do? Cracks your screen. You go, get a new one, right? If your DVR at home breaks and doesn't work and you want to watch Armageddon again, what do? You go buy a new one. Hey, Mom, Dad, we need a new DVR. Oh, okay, let's go to Target. Right? We're impatient. We want it all now. Well, in the Apollo program, it took several years, but it paid back $7 for every dollar invested. Wow. Who wouldn't take a 7-to-1 return today? All of us would, right? But it takes time, and we're impatient. We don't want to wait for it. That's why when you hear wait for it, right? Everybody hates that. Anybody else? What time just quit?
09.
09. Oh my, we got to kill 6 more minutes. Go.
Do you think there's like other life, like kind of like Earth on like different galaxies and stuff?
Let me answer it this way. Think about our universe as a record. You guys know what a record is? Used to put it on a thing and it had an arm, spun around a circle and play music and stuff. So you have a plastic disc, and let's imagine we're on the right-hand side of the disc at the very outer edge. That's where our solar system is, right? And we've grown as a people so that we've flown away from that planet and that solar system a little ways to create a space station and do some cool stuff. All right? Well, imagine it at the exact opposite, 180 degrees, the other side of that record player, there's a civilization doing exactly what we're doing. It's going to take a long time, right, before we make that journey across the center of that disk and maybe make contact, right? If they're like us, they may be better and further ahead than us, they may be further behind than us. Who knows? But I can't, for a second, I can't not think that that's possible. It's too big a place. It's just too big. So if somebody comes to you and says, "Take me to your leader," better say yes. I'd say, are you a friend or foe first, I think. Not that it would do me any good, but that's the question I'd ask them back. Anybody else?
What other biological functions depend upon gravity did you notice when you were up in space? You talked about going to the bathroom, but so when you said when you landed and you felt like you were going to throw up.
Well, throw up in space is, you have to make sure you seal the bag around your face, right? I flew on the zero-G airplane back in the early 80s, and I yacked chunks my first trip, and I didn't seal the bag on my mouth, so it squirts through the hole, and it just kind of creeped up the side of my head. That was pretty nasty. I mean, I'll have to in zero-G. Besides pooping and peeing, if you sneeze, snot goes, if you don't, cover it, right, it can go until it hits something, and that's usually a wall, and then you have to clean it off. I remember I had a butterscotch pudding in a bag, and I opened it and accidentally squeezed the end. I don't know how I did it, but I cut one end with the scissors, and I was holding too tight at the other, and it just squirted butterscotch pudding out, and it went all up and down my commander's arm. I'd been there about a week. I felt pretty stupid. Fortunately, I like butterscotch pudding, right? So you just licked it off, but that was kind of embarrassing. So anytime you spew something, whether you mean to or not, you saw the bubble in the picture, right? Well, a lot of astronauts like to go into space and they like to create a bubble. Well, the teacher from Idaho, she wanted to do it with tropical punch because it's bright red. Well, tropical punch stains really bad. And so when she tried to do her bubble, and it's kind of a trick, you have to learn how to do it, and you have to practice to make it right. But you squirt a little bit of tropical punch up through your straw, and surface tension makes it grow into a bigger and bigger bubble. And if you're really good, you can get a big honking bubble of tropical fruit punch if you want it, right? But then the trick is you have to close off the straw to stop the flow of liquid, but now surface tension holds it right on the end of that straw. Well, how do you get it off? Well, most of them shake it, which is stupid, because as soon as you shake it, boy, it starts going. So what you have to do is you have to gently move your straw up and then pull straight down. And that breaks the seal, and then the bubble just slowly floats away. But then you've got to fly around it, and you go, and you can move the bubble where you want it to go, because you can't stop it. It will never be stationary. When in that picture, right, it was moving, we just captured it with a bubble. Well, I remember she tried it the first time, and I think we were actually videotaping the ground. This red tropical punch bubble got away from her, and it wasn't very big, but it splattered all over everything. When you have electronics in the station, that's a bad thing, because potentially you can short out a perfectly good computer or a piece of electronics because you got tropical punch all over. Yes, sir.
What does the recovery look like once you're back on Earth?
So I spent 152 days in space, and we worked out 2.5 hours every single day. We had a treadmill, we had a stationary bicycle, we had a weight machine. The weight machine was pretty worthless. They have a much better one now. But we worked out 2.5 hours every day, and I took 1 day off in 152. When I landed, it was a horrible day for me. But 24 hours later, I felt really good. And so good that a day after that, I was working out in the gym and on my rehab process. 3 weeks later, I was back to normal. 3 weeks. I could run 2 miles in about the same time that I ran before I left the planet. I could lift and squat and bench press the same amount of weight in 3 weeks. That's pretty much that's not normal. Most people take 6 weeks or longer. So my bone mass went down by 4% in space. Usually for a time of period that I was in orbit, 22 to 26% is normal. So I only lost 4% of my bone mass, but I worked my butt off every day. I don't know how other astronauts work. But so coming home was difficult the first day, right? Because I weighed 200 pounds again. I hadn't weighed 200 pounds since I left. They make you drink fluids on landing day with salt tablets. Any football players in here? The coaches, you know, I don't think we do salt tablets anymore. You do Gatorade, right? Powerade and all that stuff. But we still are stupid enough to drink fluids with salt tablets. And for a big guy like me, I had down 64 ounces of fluid on landing day. So where do you think that fluid was when we landed? It was right here. Probably 60 ounces of it. Now a lot of it got absorbed, but you have to replenish your fluid because when you get up out of the shuttle, now back in gravity, what's going to happen to all the fluid in your body? It's going to go down away from the brain, which leads to fainting, right? So the idea is you put a bunch of extra fluid to keep that volume high, so when gravity starts tugging on it, and you got wearing tight under britches and all that kind of stuff to force it back to your head. The idea is to keep as much fluid in your brain as possible so you don't pass out. Well, when you get down to the ground and you have 64 ounces of salt water and tropical punch and grape drink, all with artificial sweetener in your gut, it's pretty gnarly. And I made it, this is a great chapter in the book, by the way. It's called The Hard Thumper Reality. That's the chapter. And I go through in great detail what happened that day. It was very exciting. I was trapped naked by a female nurse twice. And I didn't want to be in that compromising position while I was kicking my brains out. But you'll just have to buy the book now. Because it's a pretty funny story. At least it was to me. You guys may think this is really stupid. But
Hey guys, let's get Clayton to come in. If you guys have additional questions, I'm sure you'd be happy to answer them.
Absolutely.
And if you fill out the card, you can leave it with either John in the back or myself.